Denver's grown really big, so big that it's starting to expand outwards to other cities outside of the Denver metro area. We're going to touch on one of those, and it's called Arvada, Colorado.
Yeah, we'll break it down by cost of living for the national average. We're going to talk about rent and comparisons to homes, as well as some childcare.
All right, here we go. Hey, what's going on? Welcome back, guys. Your Colorado real estate family, Pete and Chelsea Sweeney here. We really like to approach our videos in a way that we could reach out to other families who are looking to relocate to the Denver metro area, give you as much info as possible so you know which area you really do want to move into. You know, we have certain things that we like about these aspects of the cities or the areas that we're going to be talking about, and it's great to really get an idea of what those areas look like via video from our personal experiences as natives, and really kind of get you the info you need when you're looking to move into the Colorado or the Denver metro area. So with that being said, like I said, we love helping out brand new families who are coming to the Denver metro area. If you need a great realtor to kind of help you out through the process, just give us a ring. The number's right below. Give us a thumbs up if you haven't done so already, and a subscribe. Check out other videos because we cover a lot of material in regards to the northern Denver metro area and stuff that you might really want to know. So today we're going to be talking about Arvada and the cost of living in the Arvada area, which is a little bit more northwest of downtown Denver. You're looking at about a 30 to 40 minute drive, depending on what part of Arvada you're really going to be getting into. So like Old Town Arvada, which is kind of where Arvada grew out from. Outside of that, it was all farmland and all that before probably like 20 years ago. But now, like I said, it's really starting to expand outwards. But you have the older part of Arvada, which is Old Town Arvada, and it's a real great kind of hangout spot, great walkability. Outside of that, Arvada's walkability isn't really there. You got Old Town Arvada, and you got a few developments that do kind of have that walkability. So like Five Parks, they have a great area there with restaurants, and you're able to do your whole, suburbia community type thing. But Arvada, so what we're going to do is we're going to cover this on a point system based on the national average, right? Where your national average is 100. That's your baseline. It's 100. If you have a city that's above that 100, it's more expensive than the national average. If it's below, then it's below the national average as far as cost goes. So Arvada as a whole, we're looking at it's about a 128, right? So 128, your national average is at 100. It is higher than the national average as far as the cost of living goes. A big reason for that is the real estate. The real estate is higher in Arvada as opposed to other areas in the Denver metro area and the national average.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's in the foothills, and it's just it's gorgeous, right? A lot of people want to be close to the mountains, but not necessarily in them having to deal with all the snow. So I think it's a pretty desirable area, which makes it a little bit more expensive. But then you break it down by healthcare. So healthcare is at 92 out of 100. So below national average, actually. And that takes into account your daily hospital rate, your doctor's visit, as well as your routine dental checkup. So below national average is pretty good considering. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is the groceries, and groceries is about 101 over, in comparison to 100. So I mean, barely over the national average. And that's just simple as it sounds. It's just your basic grocery costs. What about the others?
So, I mean, one big one, too, that you really want to know about is the real estate, right? So what is the average price point in Arvada, Colorado compared to your national average, or even, let's just dig in, we'll compare it to Denver, right? So for Denver, your average price point, we're talking attached and detached living, so condos, townhouses, also being compared to single-family homes. You're looking at right around $575 right now, where Arvada is a little bit lower, and it's actually 12% lower than the Denver downtown area. You're looking at like 506, 507, right around there over the last year has been the average price point of houses sold in the city of Arvada. So that's the main one right there. It's like, what am I going to be spending on a house when I decide to move into this area, if I do decide to move into the area? Now, there's so many factors. As I mentioned before, you have kind of the newer Arvada area, where it was used to be all farmland. And actually, in one of our other videos, when we're talking about the top 3 neighborhoods, one of these areas made that area because it's blown up so big, Layden Candela's area. So I highly recommend you go check out that video and figure out a little bit more about the neighborhood in that area. But you've got like the northwestern part of Arvada, which is all the new side, right? You've got all the new development. They have a lot of new shopping, stores and such, where you have more like Old Town Arvada. And the funny thing is, I actually grew up in Old Town Arvada, right down the street, right by the water tower. And Chelsea and I are both natives of Arvada. We both grew up there. You grew up more on, I guess, the suburbans or the suburbia side. Yeah. Yeah. She grew up a little bit outside of the Old Town Arvada area, and I grew up right down the street. And it's crazy. When I was a kid, Old Town Arvada is this cool little town, and you could go up there. We rode skateboards. They had this little fountain there. They had this RC track. It was literally like a whole retail store. They had this RC track that was as big as the entire store. And so I was like doing that as a kid, and it's a lot different now. It's a lot more hip now. You got all the different food stuff that you could eat, all the different like hip bars. They have a speakeasy. What's the cereal place that you like or whatever?
Yeah, for the kids, they have like a cereal bar where you can go and mix a bunch of cereals. Yeah. I think the other thing to touch on in real estate too is that some of these older places are doing like they're kind of scraping and building, and so it's increasing that area a little bit. So you'll still have the areas where they have the older homes that are obviously at a lower price point, but then you go in, and now that it's kind of, there's a lot of hip things right there, there's scraping and then becoming kind of a little bit different of an area, especially like Old Town Arvada and surrounding areas around that. So definitely changing a little bit, which is increasing the cost in that space, but there's still affordable homes. Yeah,
scrapes is a thing. I'm not sure where you guys are coming from or where you live now, but that's something that's really happened a lot in the Denver metro area. And it really, it's kind of hitting from downtown, spreading outwards. So where you're getting these older houses that were built in the early 1900s, they're taking those down and building these huge, like, 3-story, modern style houses and stuff. And so that's really starting to hit kind of Old Town Arvada now, where you're kind of scraping that and throwing some newer houses up and stuff. And like it's the hip spot to be. They have a light rail station there. So as we mentioned in another video, is the light rail station is huge in the Denver metro area right now. And so they have a station that's right downtown or in Old Town Arvada. Take that, you hop it to either Denver, to the airport. The cost for that for like a 3-hour day or a 3-hour pass to ride on the light rail is $3. If you want a whole day pass, it's $6. Whereas if you wanted to take that light rail all the way out to DIA, Denver International Airport, I think it's like $10.50, something right around there. So it's great having that transportation, and that's a good segue into what I'm talking about now, is the cost of transportation in Arvada. So it's higher than the national average. It's sitting at right at $117. And the reason for that is because, like I said, the walkability in Arvada just, it really isn't there, right? Like you have Old Town Arvada, which is great walkability. You park, you can walk all over, you could go and do your food, you could eat. You've got, all the different shops. Yeah, they have a old Army surplus store. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, so Old Town's got that, but outside of that, not much walkability. I mean, you got to pretty much drive everywhere. And so you have the cost of your maintenance. In Colorado, we do get a lot of hail. And so, you have windshields that are constantly having to be replaced. All that factors into your transportation costs in the Arvada area. Gas prices, they're a little bit higher in Arvada just because it's kind of, you've got the central hub of Denver and going outward. And so there's a few things in transportation to factor in regards to the cost of transportation. Another thing we're going to talk about is utilities. So utilities, national average, like I said, here's your baseline. You got 100. It's at 95.3. So it's a little bit lower than your national average. You got most of it's all public, so you really don't have to worry too much about any septic or propane tanks unless you really kind of get on the outskirts of Arvada. Closer to the mountains, a lot of those properties might have that, but most of it's all public sewer, water, and all that stuff. So that kind of brings your cost of utilities down a little bit.
Well, I will hit for families and moms out there, childcare. So I can actually speak on this on a personal note because Peter and I just finally we have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they, we were looking for some part-time childcare. And to be honest with you, because we hadn't had to go down that route before, we had no idea what that cost. And I was kind of surprised a little bit, but I think it's just because I had never been in that space. But so just from learning and kind of doing my own research, number one, I found out that there are a lot of childcare options in Arvada. So that's really good because I think it is important to shop around for something like that. And then the other thing is cost, right? So the cost is actually pretty comparable across the cities from Arvada all the way north is what I found. So if you're looking for maybe like a babysitter or more like a nanny situation, you're ranging between $18 and $25 an hour. Obviously, 18 is going to be maybe a newer nanny or a younger nanny. And then getting up to the $25, it's going to be somebody who's either been doing it for a long period of time, so more experience factors into into that, as well as certification. So their CPR, their first aid. So all of the little certifications that they have gained through their experience, you know, you're going to be paying for that. So that's kind of the nanny situation. The second, obviously, is the in-home care. In-home care is usually a daily rate. I will tell you through our experience, you know, we didn't need full-time daycare. So, you know, the more daycare you need, the less expensive per day it becomes, or per week. So if you're doing 1 day a week, I was getting quoted out for 2 children at 1 day a week at $120 a day. Whereas if you were doing it for the full week, you know, it really comes down to like $200 to $250. So it's just not that much more for the entire week. And it's mainly because in those home daycares, you're taking up one of the slots, and so the cost is more expensive because that's 1 less kid or 2 less kids that they could take on a daily or on a weekly rate. So, and then you have your centers, and your centers, I don't think they're like the least expensive. It really just depends on what kind of center you're going to. You can go to like a little kinder care and be a little bit on the smaller side of like $1,200 to $1,500 a month versus we have this new one by us that's just huge. I think they're blowing up everywhere, really. Yeah. But it's just like, it is the ultimate kids place. So when you're looking at something like that, you're going to be closer to $2,000 a month, or maybe even a little more depending on how many kids. One thing I think is interesting though is I thought like the more kids the discount, and what I realized is actually really just based off age group. Mm-hmm. So really look into Arvada or whatever area you're interested in by what age your kids are, but at least that'll give you some idea about the cost for childcare, because I think it's important when families you're moving here and trying to figure out what it is that they're going to be doing for their family. Yeah,
exactly. There's many other factors too that you got to kind of figure into this whole situation. So, you know, if you're moving into Colorado and you were going to work downtown Denver and want to live in Arvada, you got to think about that. How long or how far am I going to be driving every single day, or if I'm not going to be taking the light rail station. You know, if you're in the hub, if you're in Old Town Arvada, that's going to be a lot different as opposed to, you know, going a little bit further out to the Layton-Candales area like we had mentioned in the other video. Really factoring in, okay, so here's going to be my cost of gas, you know, on a weekly basis or whatever that might be. So something to really factor in, because like I said, you're not in the central downtown hub of Denver. You're out right outside of it. But I mean, there's always pros and cons to that, right? You know, and like I said, the biggest thing is just kind of where you want to raise your family. Would you rather be a little bit more downtown? It is more congested down there. Personally, it's not for us. We'd rather bring our, you know, have the extra cost of transporting whatever might be downtown, so that we could have that extra space for our families and such. So something to really factor in and to kind of bring into that. So another thing I wanted to mention too is in the state of Colorado, we do have a state income tax. I did mention that in another video as well, but our state income tax, we do have that there. You know, we're not like other states, you know, like Wyoming and Florida and such that don't have that. So we are going to have that in place. So if you are looking to move into the Arvada area, that is something to kind of factor in. We do also have a sales tax in between 8 and 9%. So you got to look at that. You know, when you're going to the store, you got to look at the extra 8 to 9% that you're going to get tacked on to the price of whatever products you're buying.
Yeah, another thing too is people who are moving here, you know, a lot of them all the time will say, you know, oh, I think, you know, while I get used to the area, I'll rent. And this is something that we kind of want to talk about because, you know, being in real estate, we hate to see people have to rent because they just don't know the area, which is a lot of reason we're doing these videos. We want people to be able to find a really good resource to investigate the area from people who live here their entire lives, as well as just bringing you really interesting facts about cost and, you know, what we would recommend on a family standpoint. You know, that's something really important to us. But let's talk about rents for a little bit, especially in Arvada. You know, my friends included are paying, you know, sometimes more in rent than they would be in a mortgage. You know, times are a little different right now with the market as far as what's available, but it's super important to have someone represent you there so that you can, you know, just find really good opportunities. But let's talk about Arvada. In Arvada right now, 1-bedroom apartments have gone up 31% from year to year so far in comparison to this last year. So 1-bedroom apartments, we're still seeing, you know, quite a bit of people renting. But when you start looking into a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartment, these prices have been decreasing significantly because they're trying to get more people into those 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. But reality is the price point is almost just as much as a mortgage. So it's really up to you. You know, we want you to not feel like you have to come here and rent to look at the area. We want to be able to show you the area, answer any questions that you have about the area so that you're not just throwing your money into a rent, but putting it into your long-term goals of home ownership and, you know, establishing a solid place for your family. So it's really important to understand land rents because it is pretty high here in Colorado for renting.
Yeah. I mean, we have a few rental properties, and like I said, we've definitely seen it where it sucks, but the rental market's going up quite a bit, and having to raise it on our renters, it's just keeping up with the market value and stuff. But rent is a lot higher for sure.
Yeah, and I met with a friend this last week, and they were having a hard time renting because of how high rents are. I mean, just an example, our rental's $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So $3,000 a month is a pretty good mortgage. So definitely something to investigate. Don't think that coming here and renting is maybe the way to go. If you're worried, just find someone who knows the area who can really help guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, guys. Well, that's kind of a breakdown for the cost of living in Arvada, Colorado. So here we are. Like I said, we're passionate about making these videos for families who are looking to relocate into the Colorado Denver metro area. Like I said, if you're looking to move here and you need someone great to represent you, give us a holler. We're going to have our number down below right now. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, the like button. Check out our other videos because we're constantly hitting different areas so you get a good idea of kind of what's going on in the Denver Metro North area and what's blowing up, what's not, and all that. So
yeah, the other thing too is if there's videos that you're interested in or areas that you're interested in that we haven't talked about, we're really open to feedback. We know a lot. We focus on some of our favorites, but we're always open to different areas. If there's ones that you want us to go look at for you, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. If you got a recommendation or something that you'd like to see, let us know. We'll see what we do to throw a video up for you. So have a great one, guys. Love you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.